Trying times now in Anglia in Emmerdale.
Sorry, Kim, I don't have time to talk. I've got to get to court.
It won't take long. But I couldn't sleep last night after what you said.
I'll be under oath. I have to tell the truth.
Yeah, and you know what the truth is. Steve drove at you deliberately. I don't understand why you suddenly seem to have doubts about that. I meant what I said about being afraid of Steve. That man is dangerous.
I'm sorry, Kim. I don't think we should be having this conversation, not with the trial about to start. If you don't mind.
Oh, Mr. Clark. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Hughes.
The head's asked me to give you one of these. An agenda for next week's staff meeting.
Oh, thanks, very exciting.
Graham, can I see you this lunchtime?
Yeah?
Something I want to ask you.
Oh?
You won't be able to take her in.
Huh? If I want your opinion, I'll apply for legal aid, OK?
She's right, you know, Law.
Look, I take my childcare and responsibilities seriously, Betty. Me and Belle are bonding.
Will you come this way, please?
You know, Laura, this is going to be the happiest week of my life.
If Kim gets sent down, you mean?
When she gets sent down, let's look on the bright side.
Well, I wouldn't count on it. I better go.
Do anything to be able to get in there with you.
Oh, do you want me to have a word with the defence? Ask them to call you first?
Very funny.
All stand.
Are you Kim Jane Marchant?
I am.
Are you Stephen Marchant?
Yes.
You are both charged with theft. That on September 15th, 1998, you stole a stallion, Orsino, valued at £300,000. How do you plead, Mrs. Marchant?
Not guilty.
Mr. Marchant?
Guilty.
You are further charged with attempting to obtain money by deception, namely the insurance from the loss of the horse Orsino. How do you plead, Mrs. Marchant?
Not guilty.
Mr. Marchant?
Guilty.
Mr. Marchant, you are further charged with attempted murder, in that on the night of September 15th, 1998, you drove a vehicle at high speed at one Mrs. Cathy Glover with the intent of killing her. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
You may both sit down.
Your Honour, I appear for the prosecution. My learned friend, Mr. Derbyshire, appears as defence counsel for Mrs. Marchant, and my learned friend, Mr. Keating, appears as defence counsel for Mr. Marchant. Your Honour, the accused, Mr. and Mrs. Marchant, are bound together not only by the vows of marriage, but by greed and ambition. They enjoyed wealth. So when they lost all their money, they decided to take desperate measures. Mrs. Marchant will claim that her husband acted alone, but the prosecution will seek to prove that they acted together in planning the theft and the ensuing deception. The plan went disastrously wrong, so much so that in his determination to avoid recognition and capture, Mr. Marchant deliberately tried to kill an innocent young woman, Mrs. Cathy Glover, who had the misfortune to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hi.
What do you want?
To see you.
You've seen me.
Thought you might be grappling with a fractious spaniel. How's it going, the studying?
Shouldn't you be frying onions or something?
I'll take a minute. I've got something for you.
Hello. I'm looking for Paddy. He's not here.
Well, I'll see you later.
Would you know where he is? Yeah, he's out on a call. Working. That's what we do here when people let us. Hello.
Miss Dixon, you agreed a price of £200,000 and at midday on the 15th of September 1998 you met with Mr. Marchant in woods near the home farm stud, where he handed over Orsino in exchange for cash. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did Mr. Marchant seem to be knowledgeable about horses?
Well, he brought me the right one.
Let me put it another way. It was Mrs. Marchant who worked at the stud, not Mr. Marchant. She knew all about horses and their value. Doesn't it seem improbable that he could have acted alone without her expertise and knowledge?
Your Honour, my learned friend is inviting the witness to speculate.
I agree. Please disregard that question.
The theft took place in broad daylight. Mrs. Marchant worked at the stud. It must have been very difficult for Mr. Marchant to steal the horse without his wife noticing.
Your Honour...
Miss Sharp, I am not happy with this line of questioning.
Very well, Your Honour. I have no more questions.
Get out of that, Kim, dear.
Stay there.
This don't know everything you get up to, Dad. I'm more practiced than you, Pillock.
Miss Dixon, did you at any time during the planning and execution of the theft have any dealings with my client, Mrs. Marchant?
No.
Did Mr. Marchant at any time suggest that my client was involved?
No.
Thank you, Miss Dixon.
Cheers, mate. How are you coping without caffeine and butter?
No problems. There's one I can't do without. In fact, I wish she was here right now.
And yeah, nothing about staff shortage, eh?
Could you do us a favour? What do you reckon to this?
Oh, I didn't know you cared.
It's for Lenya, Burke. It's a Christmas present.
A bit late, aren't you?
I'll go in a field and ask a sheep. I might get a sensible answer.
I'm kidding you. Yeah, it's great. She'll love it.
Yeah? Yeah. Sure, won't she?
So what's the prosecution counsel? I hope she's got the instincts of a Rottweiler.
Why don't you get yourself some lunch?
So who exactly did they see this morning? I mean, it can't have been many. Hasn't been enough time.
Chris, I can't tell you what's going on in there. Not until you've given evidence.
Oh, come on, Laura. Don't be so stuffy. Take your lawyer's wig off. We're friends, aren't we?
We might not be for much longer if you don't give it a rest.
Kim, how nice to see you here. Enjoying your last hours of freedom?
Do you mind if we eat somewhere else?
What for? The words condemned, hearty and breakfast come to mind.
There's a slug in my salad.
You should eat it. It's better than the stuff you'll get in prison.
You said you had something to ask. Am I supposed to guess?
I cannot remember the last time I felt this happy. Being with you is great. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I was wondering, well, you've been staying over at my house quite a lot recently, and...
I see you want us to cool it for a bit.
No, quite the opposite, silly. I want you to move in with me. There, I said it.
You mean live together?
I'm sorry, it was a bad idea. Forget it.
You took me by surprise, that's all.
What does that mean, yes or no?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting you to ask.
Saved by the bell.
Mr. Shepherd, on the evening of September the 15th, 1998, you were working as a security guard on the home farm stud.
That's right, yes.
Now, as we know, earlier that day, the horse Orsino was stolen and another horse, Toby, was placed in his stall. During the course of the evening, did you look in Orsino's stall?
No.
Why was that?
Mrs. Marchant said she checked the stalls.
Is that usual?
No.
If you had checked, would you have noticed that the horse in the stall was not, in fact, Orsino?
I think so. I'd have certainly noticed that one of the stalls was empty.
Is it fair to assume that Mrs. Marchant would have noticed that Orsino was missing?
If I would, she would.
So we have to ask why, on that night of all nights, Mrs. Marchant offered to check the stalls. Was it perhaps to conceal the fact that the most valuable horse in the entire stud was missing?
You'd better ask her.
Don't worry, Mr. Shepherd, I intend to.
What do you reckon, Betty, about them horses?
Oh, I don't know, love. I can never tell the difference between a dray horse and a Derby winner.
I've been having that trouble for years, Betty.
Mr. Shepherd, was this the first time that my client, Mrs. Marchant, had checked the stalls?
No, she did it from time to time.
So, not that unusual then? You didn't walk around with Mrs. Marchant while she made her check?
No, of course I didn't.
So, you don't know how thorough she was?
No.
You don't know whether she looked into every stall or whether she had a casual glance as she walked by? Mr. Shepherd?
No, I don't know.
Exactly. You don't know. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that your so-called evidence amounts to little more than guesswork. Don't you agree?
Chris, I'm not sure I can go through with this.
Of course you can. The whole village is rooting for you.
Maybe, but I'm the one who's got to stand up there.
Well, it won't be too bad. It'll be over before you know it.
You know, Steve could go to prison for a long, long time.
Oh, come on, Kathy. I mean, don't tell me you're starting to feel sorry for him. He deserves everything he gets. For goodness sake, he tried to kill you.
Yeah, well, it all hinges on what I say.
Well, tell them what happened. How he saw you in the road. How he drove the car straight at you. Just tell the truth. That's all you have to do.
I'd call round at the Marchants to see if I could get Steve, Mr. Marchant, to sign up for the fun run.
And who was there when you arrived?
Mrs. Marchant and Zoe Tate, her stepdaughter. They'd been having dinner.
Mr. Marchant?
He was upstairs making some phone calls.
Did you see him up there?
No, I didn't want to disturb him.
Well, how can you be certain he was there?
Because Kim, Mrs. Marchant, went upstairs to ask him about the fun run, and she shouted to him through the door.
Did he reply?
I didn't hear him.
You wouldn't. By his own admission, we know that he wasn't there. The question is whether Mrs. Marchant knew that. What did she do when she came downstairs?
She said he'd be down soon, and then she took some rubbish outside.
Can you say what time that was?
As a matter of fact, I can. It must have been just before 10.
How can you be so sure of that?
Because I went home soon afterwards. I switched the television on. I missed the first part of the 10 o'clock news.
So, Mrs. Marchant was outside the cottage, on her own, just before 10 o'clock. Long enough to make a phone call?
Yes, as I told the police.
Mrs. Marchant came back in, having dealt with the rubbish. What happened then?
We chatted for a few more minutes, then Mr. Marchant came downstairs.
What did he say?
He said he'd be delighted to do the fun run.
So he got the message, one way or another.
Mrs. Marchant asked him.
Indeed she did. And if Mr. Marchant wasn't in the house when Mrs. Marchant went upstairs, how can she have communicated with him except by phone?
She'll be hungry, Your Honour. She's got all her legs, hasn't she, Dad? I were saying.
It's not that, Your Honour. She's wet. It must be the excitement. I'll go and change her.
Remove that child at once, or you'll be held in contempt of court.
Well, keep your wig on. We don't want to get in the wrong impression of British justice, do we?
Leave this court.
I bet you feel like a good cry too.
Not you again.
Well, I know you're busy, and I know at this precise moment in time you don't particularly want to see me.
Not now, not ever.
Yeah, I can understand you being angry. Oh, it's a minute of your time. For old time's sake.
All right, get on with it. Say what you've got to say.
Voila.
What's that?
Your Christmas present.
Christmas present?
I know it's late and I haven't put a ribbon round it, but it's for you, you know. For love.
Well, I don't want it.
You could at least open it. I think you'd be pleased. I chose it really carefully.
Marlon, I don't want your little peace offering. And I don't want you. Now you close the door on your way out, please.
Detective Inspector, the money in this case was never recovered, is that right?
That's correct.
Have you any idea where it might be?
Our inquiries are continuing.
I take it that means no. Is it true that in the early days of your investigation, Mr. Marchant made a full confession and accepted full responsibility for the theft?
Yes, he did.
He in no way implicated my client, Mrs. Marchant?
Not at the time, no. However, he later changed his statement.
Yes, he did, didn't he? He came to you and told you that his wife was involved. But you didn't believe a word of it, did you?
Not at the time, no.
Well, what made you change your mind and decide that Mrs. Marchant had a case to answer?
We received some new evidence.
Ah, yes. The itemized phone bill brought to your notice by Mr. Christopher Tate.
Yes?
Mr. Tate visited you a number of times during your inquiry, did he not?
Yes.
Why?
He thought he might have information that could be useful to us.
And was it?
Not initially, no.
You questioned Mrs. Marchant on 2 occasions, following information received from Mr. Tate.
That wasn't the only reason we brought her in.
You questioned her twice and released her on both occasions without charge.
Yes.
Nonetheless, you seem to have a very high regard for Mr. Tate's ability as an amateur sleuth. Perhaps you should enlist his aid to find the missing money.
Mr. Derbyshire, your levity is inappropriate.
Detective Inspector, would you say that in his efforts to assist you in your inquiries, Mr. Tate was being entirely impartial?
Your Honour, the Detective Inspector's opinions of Mr. Tate are of no relevance.
I agree.
Graham, look, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. Putting you on the spot like that. Can we just forget I ever said it? Start again?
You're assuming I'm going to say no.
We didn't seem very keen on the idea.
It's not that. But it's a big commitment. If I'm honest, it scares me. You said yourself it could ruin everything.
Yeah, I know. But I thought we could make it work. The way I feel about you.
That's mutual. Oh, what the hell, let's give it a try.
Are you sure?
No, but I'm prepared to take a chance if you are.
Oh, it'll be great. You'll see. You'll see.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mrs. Glover, I realise that this is not going to be very easy for you, but I would like you to tell the court what happened to you on the night of September the 15th last year.
Yes. I'd been out for a meal with a friend, but he had to leave early, so I had to go home alone. On the way back, the taxi driver became very unpleasant, so I asked him to stop the car.
The taxi dropped you on the road not far from the home farmstead.
Yes.
Mrs. Glover, take all the time you need.
Thank you. I set off to walk back home. It was quiet. I'd walked that way 1,000 times before, and I didn't expect...
What happened?
I heard a car engine. I saw headlights coming towards me. I thought it would stop and try and avoid me, but it didn't. It drove straight at me.
Did you see the driver? Mrs. Glover, this is very important. Were you able to recognize the driver? Your Honour, might I request a brief adjournment?
Yes, I think that would be appropriate.
You haven't been to the trial, have you, Jack?
No, I couldn't take a day off from the farm. Don't suppose you've heard any news, have you?
Oh, well, it's early days yet, but I'll probably get an account of the day's proceedings before long.
I reckon Steve Mattson's guilty as sin. He'll have grey before he gets out.
No, it's what the jury thinks that counts.
If you ask me, he's trying to drag Kim into gutter weed for us.
So you think she's in the clear then, do you?
I'll put money on it.
Well, I hope you're right. But if Steve Marcham did try and kill Kathy, they can throw away the key as far as I'm concerned.
I'll drink to that.
Are you quite sure you're ready to continue, Mrs. Glover?
Yes.
Before the adjournment, I asked you if you recognised the driver of the vehicle which knocked you down.
Yes, I did.
And who was it?
It was Steve Marchant.
Are you certain of that?
Yes, it was him. He saw me, he could have avoided me, but he deliberately drove straight at me. He tried to kill me.
Only 2 shows left. Can someone finally win £1 million? Stay with us to find out.
Morning.
Hi.
How did it go in court yesterday?
Oh, I'm not sure. Our turn to be cross-examined today. Kathy obviously found it an ordeal. Just got more questions from the other barristers today. For a while I thought she was going to crack, which would have suited Steve's case, but, well, she seems to be getting through it.
And you're going to do even better.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who'd like to see me in prison.
Hi.
Fancy a lift this morning?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I was hoping we could share our lunch break. My first period this afternoon's free, and the head's away. Thought we could sneak off and have a picnic.
It's the middle of January.
Where's your spirit of adventure?
Need to hire a St. Bernard to bring us a barrel of the stuff before hypothermia sets in.
Or I could cuddle you to keep you warm.
Oh, that sounds a much better idea.
The park will be empty, and it'll give us a chance to be alone together for a change.
Okay.
I hope I can expect a bit more from you today. You've hardly said a word so far. You've let the others make all the running.
I shouldn't need to remind you, we're not disputing the theft. I'll have plenty to say when it can really help your case.
Just as long as you make sure Kim goes down too.
My job is to ensure that you get the most lenient sentence possible, which ought to be your priority.
What, after what she's trying to do to me?
All we have to do is present the facts, Mr. Marchant. If we do that effectively, then we can rely on the jury to take care of your wife. Now, are you ready to start?
See, your dad's not risk coming again today. Is he worried Judge will chuck him out again?
Aye, and well, Lucy thought it'd better to keep Belle at home. She said a courtroom was no place for a baby.
Oh, I don't know. When you're a dingle, it's best to learn ropes early.
Yeah, but it ain't us on trial this time, is it?
That's true. We could be seeing history in the making here, Butch. The day it all caught up with Kim Tate. Come on.
Mrs. Glover, I remind you that you are still under oath, and apologize for the need to take you through the events of that night again. I realize it was a traumatic experience for you, one from which you may not yet have fully recovered. But your evidence is crucial to the outcome of this case. Only you and my client know what happened on that road on that night. Now, he's admitted that he was engaged in theft at Home Farm. About that, there is no dispute. But he will tell this court that he was not even aware of the possibility that he had hit you until he was informed that you were in hospital some hours later. You were in an emotional state that night, Mrs. Glover. After your aborted evening with Mr. Fowler, the disagreement with the taxi driver, it was dark, things happened very quickly. Is it not possible that you might have misread my client's actions?
I know what I saw. He drove straight at me.
You were in a coma for some time after the accident.
Yes, that's right.
But I believe you chose to discharge yourself against medical advice.
Yes.
And you've since found it necessary to seek counselling.
Objection, Your Honour. Mrs. Glover's medical treatment is not relevant.
Overruled. Her mental state is clearly pertinent to the evidence. You may proceed, Mr. Keating.
Thank you, Your Honour. Mrs. Glover, I'm sure you have the sympathy of everyone in this court. But I must ask you, after your traumatic experience and subsequent psychological problems, can you really be sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that my client deliberately drove at you that night? Or is it not more likely that your injuries were the result of a tragic accident, one that my client regrets as much as you do?
He saw me, and he drove straight at me.
They shouldn't let him do that, Betty. You're trying to make out like Kathy's not right in the head.
No, it's just his job, love. He has to make things look better for Steve. Are you all right, love?
Not really.
Look, you don't want to let that brief upset you. He's a nasty piece of work, Kathy.
Butch, why don't you go back inside, love? Let me have a word with Kathy.
OK. I'll just go and check what's going on.
You did ever so well, love. I bet you're glad it's all over, though.
I suppose so. I'm just not sure I've done the right thing.
And you told the truth. That's all you could do.
But the barrister was right. It did all happen very quickly. What if I got it wrong?
Mr. Marchant, you've told the court how you and your wife planned the theft and subsequent insurance fraud. But let us concentrate for a moment on the events leading up to Mrs. Glover's injuries. Now, clearly, The theft was an operation that required split-second timing.
Absolutely. Kim had planned it all meticulously. And everything seemed to be going to plan until just after I left home farm, when my mobile rang. I knew it was Kim. Her name came up on the display, so I realized there must be something wrong.
So you were in a state of some panic when you answered the call?
Well, I was concerned, yes. She filled me in on the conversation with Reverend Thomas, so I could pretend to have been present all along. Kim was very thorough over that type of detail.
But there was another problem she hadn't allowed for.
Yes, though I didn't realize it at the time. I was distracted by the phone call, and I hit something. I thought it was a deer.
But you later found out this wasn't the case.
When I heard about what had happened to Kathy, I realized I must have accidentally hit her.
And what were your feelings when you learned this?
I was devastated. Kathy's a neighbor, a friend. I would never knowingly do anything to harm her.
Some people may attempt to cast doubt upon your remorse. You freely admitted to 2 crimes, and they may suggest that this accident was not an accident at all, but a deliberate attempt to silence a witness.
That's not true. As far as I was concerned, this was all about money. I never wanted anyone to get hurt.
So how's it going?
Betty reckons Steve's trying to dump all blame on Kim.
Ah, so she might be for the high jump after all. You going to shorten the odds?
No, she's still a smart lass. 3-2 against Kim being put away.
Seth, I really must protest. The British legal system is the envy of the world. It's the backbone of our society, not a subject for barroom gambling.
Well said, Alan. Mind you, 3-1's quite good odds.
Do you want some?
Only if you're offering each way.
I can give you a better bet if you're free tonight.
What did you have in mind?
Meet me in here later and I'll tell you.
Thanks very much. I might need to borrow it again later.
Mr. Marchant, I imagine you've used a mobile phone in a vehicle before.
Yes.
But you don't have a record for mowing down innocent pedestrians.
Objection, Your Honour.
Sustained. Please stick to the case in hand, Miss Sharp.
I will rephrase the question, Your Honour. Why do you expect the jury to believe that a simple phone call caused you to drive dangerously?
I was on edge. The call distracted me.
But you were aware that you had hit something or someone.
I thought I'd hit a deer.
A deer. That's a large animal, which would suggest a large impact. Most people would stop and investigate. Why didn't you?
Kim told me to hurry back, or we'd be found out.
So you were too busy trying to save your own skin to stop and check what or who you had hit. I put it to you, Mr. Marchant. You were perfectly aware that you'd hit Mrs. Glover.
No.
Indeed, it was your intention to run her over.
That's not true.
But you're not denying that you and Mrs. Glover were the only people on that road that night?
No.
Or that you were driving a stolen vehicle away from the scene of the crime when you saw Mrs. Glover?
I didn't see her.
But she saw you. Indeed, later she was able to identify you, which spoiled all that careful planning. Now, isn't that what was going through your mind as you drove at her?
I didn't drive at her. I didn't see her.
I put it to you, Mr. Marchant. The only genuine remorse you feel is that Mrs. Glover survived her injuries. Since if you had succeeded in killing her, this case might never have come to court.
That's not true. It was an accident.
I really care about you, Rachel. In some ways, moving in would be the ideal solution.
But
I think we should both be really sure about it first.
I am sure.
Are you? You must have been sure when you and Chris got it together, but that didn't work out, did it?
Well, I've made lots of mistakes, but I've learned from them. I mean, what about you and your wife? Were you happy all the time?
Well, I doubt if anybody's happy all the time.
But you loved her. I guess her death must still be quite painful for you. My brother Mark, he died when the plane came down on the village, and I still miss him. I don't think you ever get rid of that hurt. How did your wife die?
Look, I really don't want to talk about it.
Graham, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you.
Look, let's just forget about it, shall we?
Mr. Marchant, I have here a transcript of a taped interview at Houghton Police Station, in which you state that the theft was both planned and executed by you, and you alone. Your wife was not involved in any way. I take it you don't deny this account was freely given?
No.
But you subsequently gave another account, in which you tried to shift the blame onto Mrs. Marchant, and you now insist that that is the truth.
Yes.
So this is a tissue of lies.
Objection, Your Honour. Overruled. The defendant has admitted that the account was untrue.
You're very good at lying, Mr. Marchant, as those who suffered from your financial dealings could testify. Why should the jury believe one word you utter in this court?
I'd agreed to take the rap for Kim. That's why I told the police I was acting alone. It was only when I realized she was selling me out that I changed my story.
Shortly after your wife started divorce proceedings against you. What prompted this startling U-turn? The news of the divorce, or the person who brought it? Whilst on remand, you were visited on a number of occasions by Mr. Christopher Tate, which in itself is surprising, since in the past you'd not got on well. But I believe it was he who informed you of your wife's intention to start divorce proceedings.
Yes.
What else did you find to discuss during these visits?
I really don't recall.
Did you discuss this case?
We may have.
Did you, in fact, concoct a story between you in an attempt to get your wife into the dock?
Objection, Your Honour. These allegations are mere conjecture. Mr. Tate is not on trial here.
Mr. Derbyshire?
Your Honour, I intend to call Mr. Tate to the stand. He will have the opportunity to describe these meetings. But it is our contention that he and Mr. Marchant concocted evidence against my client.
Objection overruled. You will answer the question, Mr. Marchant.
Yes. We discussed the case because we both know she's as guilty of the theft as I am. If anyone deserves to be locked up, it's her.
Have I missed much?
Mr. Derbyshire opening Kim's defence.
What did he have to say for himself?
She's a loyal wife and a devoted mother, and she stood by her husband, even when he conned her out of all the money.
Kim.
She only decided to divorce him when she found he'd turned to a life of crime and put an innocent woman's life in jeopardy. She sounded like a cross between Joan of Arc and Florence Nightingale by the time he'd finished.
And they call us villains.
Shouted through the door.
So, you and Mrs. Marchant were both under the impression that Mr. Marchant had been up there in the bedroom all along?
Yes. I know it seems odd him behaving like that when he had a dinner guest, but Kim was used to it.
How long was she out of the room?
A few seconds.
So, apart from then, Mrs. Marchant was with you all evening?
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Tate. No further questions. And stay there, please.
You say that Mrs. Marchant was with you all evening, and yet the Reverend Thomas recalls her leaving the room to take the rubbish out.
She may have done, I don't recall.
You don't recall. No doubt it was a very pleasant evening. A good meal, some wine, perhaps?
Yes.
How much wine was consumed over this meal, Miss Tate?
A couple of bottles, I think.
Between you and Mrs. Marchant. So you probably drank about a bottle yourself.
Yes, I didn't have to drive. It's a short walk home, and we were enjoying the evening.
I'm not criticising your drinking habits, Miss Tate. But the jury may like to note that the Reverend Thomas was sober at this point. So his recollections of the evening are probably more accurate than yours.
Look, I'm sorry I snapped at you about my wife earlier. I'm just a bit sensitive on the subject.
You don't have to apologise. I shouldn't have brought it up.
It's not your fault. It's just I've never really talked to anyone about her.
It might make you feel better. It'd help me understand you more.
Everything was fine between us at first. She was moody sometimes, but I didn't worry too much about that. We all have our bad days.
But it got worse.
The moods got darker and they lasted longer. Sometimes she wouldn't even get out of bed all day. I'd come home from school and she'd still be there in a dressing gown.
Well, did you go see the doctor about it?
She didn't want to, but I eventually persuaded her. He prescribed a course of antidepressants, but that didn't seem to help much.
So what happened?
I came home and she was lying on the bed. I was used to that, but I knew straight away this was different. She'd taken an overdose. I called an ambulance, but it was too late.
Graham.
I've always blamed myself. If I'd handled the situation better, if I'd just got home 10 minutes earlier. The doctors were very kind and they said there was nothing I could have done about it, but that's not how it feels when you watch someone you love dying.
I can understand why you wouldn't want to rush into a relationship.
After it happened, I made up my mind I'd stay single for the rest of my life. And that's never really been a problem. Until now.
Mr. Tate, you were managing director of Home Farm Estates.
That is correct.
But Home Farm Stud, though on the same site, is not part of that organisation. You had no responsibility for it.
That is also correct.
Yet you've taken an extremely active interest in this case from the start.
I was shocked by what had happened. I wanted to see the culprits brought to justice.
Very public-spirited of you. You paid numerous visits to Houghton Police Station to expound your theories on the crime.
Well, they were getting nowhere. I was trying to help.
You accused Mrs. Marchant and her husband on several occasions.
I was proved right, wasn't I?
About him, yes. But I'm happy to leave it to the jury to decide about Mrs. Marchant. It's not the first time you've accused Mrs. Marchant of a serious crime, is it? Nor is it the first time that you have decided that the police weren't getting anywhere. You felt they didn't investigate your father's death properly.
They still haven't. He was murdered.
And on several occasions, you have publicly accused Mrs. Marchant of killing him.
I know she did it.
Even though 2 doctors certified that your father died of a heart attack, and Mrs. Marchant wasn't even in the country at the time.
You don't know how cunning she is. She fooled everyone except me.
The truth is, you're not interested in justice, Mr. Tate. Just your own vendetta against Mrs. Marchant.
I want to see her pay for her crimes. That is what justice is about, isn't it?
So, you kept visiting Mr. Marchant, trying to find some way of getting him to give evidence against his wife.
I was doing a public service, helping the truth come out.
Was that why you told Mr. Marchant his wife was planning to divorce him?
He had a right to know.
I suspect it was less to do with his rights and more to do with an attempt to drive a wedge between him and his wife so that he would help you to try to bring her down. You don't deny, do you, that you and Mr. Marchant spent hours discussing this case during these visits? You were desperate to find any shred of evidence against her.
I found evidence. That mobile phone bill proves she called him.
It proves the phone was in use, not who was using it. But then, little facts like that don't seem to matter to you, do they, Mr. Tate?
How can you say that? I've spent weeks assembling evidence for this case.
And you've spent years following an obsession. You've hated Mrs. Marchant since her marriage to your father.
With good reason. She killed him.
No, Mr. Tate. Those accusations have been proved false, just as these will be.
You've got to listen to me.
I think the jury has heard more than enough from you by now, Mr. Tate.
She can't get away with it again.
No further questions, thank you, Mr. Tate. Your witness, Mr. Keating.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll lengthen odds against Kim being sent down. I'll give you 20 to 1 now.
She must have had a good day in court then, eh?
Lousy for Chris. Better he's making a right fool on his son.
Well, if I had my way, I'd lock him and her up together. Be perfect punishment for both of them.
You're much too early.
What? Well, I just thought it'd take ages to get to Leeds.
Yeah, but the club I really fancy don't get warmed up till late.
How late does this place stay open?
We'll probably meet the milkman on our way out.
I've got an early morning call tomorrow.
Don't worry, I'll make sure you get back in time.
I don't know what the attraction of these clubs is. All loud music and flashing lights.
There's no point asking me. So when me and Paddy were together, we never went anywhere when he had an early morning call. By the time I got in bed, he was just dead to the world.
Did you and your husband entertain often?
Not since Steve's business went down. We don't have money for lavish dinner parties anymore. That's why I was pleased when he suggested inviting Zoe over.
So this dinner was your husband's idea?
Yes.
Did it not strike you strange, therefore, when he chose to spend most of the evening upstairs?
I suppose it should have done, but I'd got used to it. Steve's always been very secretive about his business calls.
Some people might think you should have learned a lesson from that when he lost all your money.
He promised to make up for what he'd done. I guess I wanted to believe him. I wanted the marriage to work.
Why then did you decide to start divorce proceedings?
When I realised what he was involved in, not just stealing from me, but nearly killing Kathy, I saw that he lied to me all along. He was never going to change. There was no hope for us as a couple.
I'm sure the jury can see that you made every effort to make your marriage work. Why did you not tell your husband you were planning to divorce him?
Well, I was going to, but I wanted to talk the matter over with my solicitor first.
By which time, Christopher Tate had already told him. Did that surprise you?
Not at all. Chris has always done anything he can to hurt me.
Including accusing you of murder.
The police proved I was innocent of that. I hope the jury can see that these charges are just as ridiculous.
Why do you think Mr. Tate persists in making these allegations?
Frank, Chris's father, was a self-made man, a millionaire. Chris idolised him, wanted to follow in his footsteps, but Frank never thought he was up to it. In fact, he told me he despised him.
Well, that's not true. He'd have never said that.
Mr. Tate, you must not interrupt these proceedings. Please continue, Mrs. Marchant.
Thank you, Your Honour. When Frank turned to me to help run Home Farm, Chris couldn't take it. He had to pretend that I was plotting against him. Frank leaving me the business in his will was the final straw for him.
This is lies, all lies!
I will not tolerate these outbursts in my court.
But she murdered him!
Remove that man!
Now she's making fools out of all of you. You can't let her get away with it!
And just a reminder, Emmerdale's back tomorrow at 7. In half an hour tonight, Chris Tarrant hosts the final test in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Now a revelation for Graham.
Time to call this. I've been waiting for you for over an hour.
I know. I'm sorry, Jack. There was a big hold-up just outside Leeds.
What are you doing in Leeds this time of the morning?
He's been out clubbing with Tricia. He's a bit mad.
Look, I'm not really interested in your nightlife. Can you just sort my sheep out?
Actually, I can't right now.
Why not?
Because I've left all my stuff back at the surgery.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Can't you give me some idea what's wrong with her?
Look, I'll just nip back. I'll get my gear and...
Why didn't you do that in the first place?
I'm sorry. I know, I was just worried about being late. I'm really sorry.
Now, will you stop apologising and go and get your equipment? I can't stand around here all day waiting for you to get over your hangover.
Oh, no, Jack, I'm not hungover. Just a bit short of sleep.
I'm sorry I can't stay in court today. We're just run off our feet at the practice. It wouldn't be fair on Paddy.
Don't worry about it.
Well, look on the bright side. Could all be over by the end of today.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, come on, Kim. You know as well as I do, the jury aren't going to find you guilty. Chris practically demolished the case against you single-handed after his little outburst yesterday.
I hope you're right.
I know I am.
Paddy, where on earth have you been? That phone's not stopped ringing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, I've just had a right earful from Jack Sugden. I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
I know, I've just seen him.
Well, you can't have, you don't have any stuff with you.
Yeah, I know that, Lynn, and that's why I've come back to fetch it, and I'm going to go back to Jack's in a minute, and it's all under control.
Well, this ain't going to do the reputation of the practice much good, is it?
Lynn! Where's Zoe?
Running Kim into court.
Right. Do you mind not saying anything about this? Please.
All right. Mrs. Marchant, do you recall the evidence given by Miss Dixon earlier in the trial? She said that she obtained Orsino from your husband at midday on September the 15th.
Yes.
What were you doing at that time?
Exercising the horses.
So why didn't you notice that Orsino was missing?
I think Steve's already said he switched the horses. He put a white daub on Toby's forehead to make him look like Orsino.
But surely you still would have noticed that a horse was missing.
I don't exercise them all at once. So if he timed the switch right, then no.
And in the evening? You checked all the horses yourself, didn't you?
I did.
So why didn't you notice that Toby had been moved? If Orsino had been stolen at lunchtime, there would have been one empty stall, whatever swapping about had been done.
Toby's one of the stable horses, and not nearly as valuable or as important as the stud horses. So checking them at night isn't an exact science. You look down a line of stalls, you can't necessarily see every one.
Really? That's a bit slapdash, isn't it?
I didn't look closer because I had no reason to think that anything was wrong.
Or because you knew Toby wasn't there?
No. Do you think a minute goes by when I don't wish I hadn't looked down that line of stalls and seen that Toby had gone? If I had done that, then Steve's whole plan would have been blown apart and Kathy would never...
Are you all right, Mrs. Marchant?
Yes. Yes, I'm fine. I did not steal Orsino. But that doesn't mean I don't feel responsible for what happened to Kathy Glover.
I'm sure we're all deeply touched by that heartwarming display of social conscience, Mrs. Marchant.
Your Honour, really, the prosecution is attempting to ridicule my client.
Please confine yourself to your cross-examination, Miss Sharp.
Your Honour. So, as far as you were concerned, Orsino was safely in his stall. Except that it wasn't Orsino, it was Toby.
That's right.
I would like you to take a look at these photographs, Mrs. Marchant. Exhibits D and E, Your Honour. Can you identify the horses in these pictures, Mrs. Marchant?
Yes, this is Orsino and this is Toby.
Oh, so no problem telling them apart?
No, of course not. For a start, I know both these photographs. They're from our brochure. If I look at them closely like this, well, the difference is obvious. But on a busy day, going about my routine, well, it's a different matter.
Really? Are you seriously asking us to believe that you couldn't tell a £300,000 thoroughbred from a nag?
Toby's not a nag. He's a hunter, part thoroughbred. Both horses are over 15 hands, and they're both brown. He was disguised. He was in the right stable at the right time. I wasn't looking for an imposter. My mind was on other things.
How long have you been working with horses, Mrs. Marchant?
We've had stables at Home Farm for about 10 years.
Oh, but you were working with horses before that?
Since I was a girl.
So, 20 years, more?
Yes.
And you can't tell two horses apart? That's not a very good advertisement for your equestrian expertise.
Look, we don't even know if the horses were swapped. We've only got Dixon's word for it, and she's a self-confessed crook.
Please answer the question, Mrs. Marchant.
If the horses were swapped, I didn't spot it. I don't know why. I wish I did. There's nothing else to say.
All right. Let's talk about what happened that night. Look at this, please. Exhibit F, Your Honour. Can you identify that document?
It's my phone bill.
Your mobile phone?
Yes.
Look at the highlighted call halfway down the page. 9:50 p.m. on September the 15th, 1998. Do you recognize the number?
Steve's mobile.
Why did you call him?
I didn't.
No?
As far as I knew, he was in the bedroom making business calls. I was enjoying a quiet evening in with Zoe Tate.
When the Reverend Thomas came round to ask about the fun run?
That's right.
He had a question for Mr. Marchant.
Yes. I shouted it through the door. I didn't want to disturb Steve. I knew he'd be angry if I went in.
So who did call Mr. Marchant on your mobile?
Actually, I've thought about this.
Really?
Yes, you see, Steve's number is preset into the keypad. James was still up. He was playing downstairs. So he could quite easily have picked it up and pressed the button. It's happened before.
How old is James?
2.
Oh, he's a bright chap.
I like to think so.
So bright he was able to tell your husband all about the fun run.
I beg your pardon?
Well, by his own admission, Mr. Marchant wasn't in the bedroom when you called to him about the fun run. And yet, according to the Reverend Thomas, your husband was able to answer his query, unprompted, when he finally returned to the house. Now, how do you think he managed that?
I don't know.
Pardon?
I said I don't know. Perhaps he heard us talking when he came down the stairs. Or maybe the vicar did ask him the question again. I don't know how Ashley can be so sure he didn't.
Are you saying that the Reverend was lying?
No, but I can't remember, not definitely. It was a trivial conversation.
I have a different explanation. I suggest that when the Reverend came round, you panicked. You shouted the question through the door to play for time, fully aware that at that very moment your husband was miles away.
No.
Now, you had to pretend that he was there because this was your alibi. You'd sent him out to fake the horse theft at a time when Zoe Tate would be an alibi for both of you.
That's not true.
You realized your mistake. And on the pretext of taking out the rubbish, you quickly phoned Mr. Marchant to make sure that he knew what to say when he got back.
This is a fantasy.
Then how did he know, Mrs. Marchant? How did he know?
Really, Your Honour, the prosecution is browbeating my client. Mrs. Marchant has already answered the question.
Do you wish to add to your previous answer?
No, Your Honour.
You don't have a plausible alternative explanation? Because there isn't one. It was a brilliant plan.
I've told you, I don't know anything about it.
Except it all went wrong when your husband ran Kathy Glover down in cold blood. You couldn't trust him anymore, could you? He was a liability. You'd used him to do all your dirty work, and now he'd outgrown his usefulness. You set him up, didn't you, Mrs. Marchant?
No.
Or perhaps you just got too greedy. You wanted all the money for yourself.
No, that's not true. None of this is true.
Thank you, Mrs. Marchant. I have no further questions, Your Honour.
Kathy, love, are you all right?
No.
Why don't you sit down, love? I'll get
No,
you a nice...
please, Betty, don't.
What's going on?
Well, she's upset, and who could blame her, poor love, raking over all this stuff.
Kathy, do you want me to take you home?
No, please, everybody, stop telling me what to do.
All right, I'm just trying to help, that's all.
I've been an idiot.
What are you talking about?
I've made a terrible, terrible mistake.
Yeah, I think you should take her home.
No. No. I know exactly what I have to do.
Kathy, wait! I'm sorry, Dad. I let you down. She's gonna get away with it. Again. The worst thing, the sickest thing is all lies she tells. It's like she's laughing at you. Why won't she let you rest? Why can't she just leave you alone? Dad, why can't she just leave you alone?
what's going on.
Did you find her?
I don't know where she's gone, Betty.
Well, she must be somewhere. Did you have a word with one of the ushers?
Shush, I think we're going to start again.
I have received a request from Mr. Marchant's defence counsel that he should be allowed to re-examine Mrs. Glover. I have noted the objections from Mr. Derbyshire, but in the interests of justice and a fair trial for all parties, I have decided that this new testimony must be heard. Please bring Mrs. Glover to the stand.
Mrs. Glover, you understand that you are still under oath?
Yes, I do.
Good. So please tell the court what it is you want to say.
Yesterday, when I said that I had seen Steve, Mr. Marchant, behind the wheel before he hit me, well, I don't know if that's true or not.
Surely either it is or it isn't.
A few hours after I came out the coma, it must have been the middle of the night, I was still pretty dazed. I had a visit from Kim Marchant.
On her own?
Yes. She was very upset. She told me that it was Steve who had run me over. She said that he told her he'd done it deliberately and that I'd seen him, called out his name.
But you don't actually remember this yourself?
When I think back, I can see Steve behind the wheel, driving straight at me. I can see him clearly, the expression on his face. But I know that before Kim's visit, that memory wasn't there.
She planted it?
Not necessarily. I don't know. It's all such a blur. I don't know what I remember. But I suppose, if I'm really honest, it could have been anyone driving that car.
Yes.
So, Mrs. Glover, when you gave your original testimony, you were lying.
No. When Kim told me what had happened, or her version of what had happened, I just assumed it was true. It was like it became my own memory. I was confused.
You were confused?
I don't mean it like that. Kim told me she was afraid of Steve, that he was violent. She said she was scared he might hurt her, so when I told the police that I'd seen him, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Really? Yesterday, when Mr. Keating was feeling a little less enthusiastic about your testimony, he went to great pains to remind the court that since the incident, you've been seeing a psychologist on a regular basis. And why exactly did you start this treatment?
It's nothing unusual. Anyone with an injury...
No mood swings, panic attacks, short-term memory loss, nothing like that.
Yes, but...
So either you are psychologically unfit to give evidence, or you're a perjurer. Which is it to be?
Objection, Your Honour. These are just personal insults.
Mr. Derbyshire.
No, it's all right. I admit it's not been easy recovering from this head injury. But I swear to you, I clearly remember Kim's visit.
Oh, yes?
Yes, but I'm not sure about the accident. The doctor told me things would come back slowly, bit by bit, so maybe Kim just helped things along, helped trigger a real memory. But maybe she planted it. Maybe she was just telling me what to say. The thing is, I don't trust her anymore. I think she used me.
Game over, Kim.
Right, Lynn. Got some calls and I'm off to court. You're right, Paddy. You look terrible.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think I might be coming down with flu or something.
Well, go to bed if you're ill. Lynn can reschedule your appointments.
No, it's nothing.
And how was Jack?
Pardon?
Jack said this morning.
Right, yes. Jack was fine.
Mm.
The sheep, not so good.
I'll see you later.
You can't go on like this.
You what?
Letting things slide.
And I thought Kelly Windsor was annoying.
No, I'm serious, Paddy. It's not fair asking me to cover up for your mistakes.
Look, no more lectures.
I was only saying.
Yeah, well, you're only a receptionist. And only a temporary one at that.
I must ask you to remember that Stephen Marchant has pleaded guilty to all charges relating to the theft of Orsino. It is only left for you to decide whether he did or did not attempt to murder Kathy Glover. As for Kim Marchant, you must ask yourselves whether or not you believe that she was a victim of her husband's machinations. Could he have planned and executed such a complex operation, living under the same roof, without her knowledge and complicity? If you believe that he could, then you must acquit Kim Marchant. If you don't, then you must convict.
Hi. I didn't expect you back so early.
Well, there was only the summing up left, and I've got a pile of work to catch up on.
Well, Kim may walk free, but I've worked out the final piece of the jigsaw.
What are you talking about?
I'm going to make sure she doesn't make a penny out of her nasty little crime. Even if she can sweet-talk a jury with her poor little wronged woman act.
Oh, I don't think it'll come to that.
Why?
Kathy testified again. She practically blew Kim's case out of the water. Kim knew about the theft. Apparently, she came to the hospital and told Kathy what to say about identifying Steve. I hope she's got something fun planned for tonight, because this could be her last night of freedom for a long time. Chris, what's so funny?
You'll see.
You will now retire to consider your verdict. However, due to the lateness of the hour, deliberations will not begin until tomorrow morning. So I'm afraid you'll have to spend the night in a hotel. Thank you.
All stand.
You finished, Kim? Even you can't snake your way out of this one.
Kim, I think we should have a serious chat before you go off.
Not now.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late.
Leave me alone.
What's happened?
Make sure she doesn't do anything stupid.
Kim, wait.
If you will burn the candle at both ends, it'll do you no good at all.
Pipe boys, Mr. Turner.
Any news of the trial?
Jury's out.
Why is Kathy coming over?
Nah, she went straight home after court, apparently. Pretty upset.
There'll be a verdict tomorrow.
Who knows? They'll be arguing it out all day, I should imagine, you know. Locked in a smoke-filled room, just like in 12 Angry Men.
Yes, wonderful film. Yeah, that was Henry Fonda.
Yeah, I've seen that. Jack Lemmon's in it as well.
I don't think so.
Yes, he is. Jack Lemmon's one of the jurors. That's right, isn't it, Rachel?
No, I think you're thinking of Jack Klugman.
Who?
He was in the TV series The Odd Couple, but Jack Lemmon was in the film version of The Odd Couple. That's why you're getting confused.
I didn't think you were an expert on TV trivia.
Shad your hair, Graham. No marks fatigued. Get him a dunce's cap, we'll stick him in the corner.
Thank God. I've been looking everywhere for you. Laura's got her answer phone. I went round to Kathy's, but she's not answering the door. What happened in court today, Kim?
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, your barrister said something worrying. I guess there must have been some sort of setback.
So you're going to put me away?
No.
What's going to happen to James?
I'm sure it's not as bad as you think.
I didn't do it, Zoe.
I know. I know.
What am I going to do?
Do you want me to stay?
Thanks, but I think I'd like to be by myself.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
OK. I'll see you tomorrow. Try and get some sleep.
Yeah. Yes, it's Kim Marchant. I've been trying to get hold of you all evening. Yes, all right, just listen to me. What we talked about the other day. It's on. I want a kiss, please, first.
I don't think so.
What's wrong?
Don't ever do that to me again, Rachel.
What are you talking about?
That stuff in the pub. You showed me up.
Oh, come on, you can't always be right.
Oh, yes, very funny. Everyone was laughing at me thanks to you.
They didn't mean anything by it.
I felt humiliated.
Come on, you can't be serious. Hey, moody?
No.
Ah, so it is you, Kim. Not that I can think of anyone else in the village who might have buried £190,000 in my father's grave. So, you've either got off scot-free, or you're trying to make a run for it. Well, hard luck. All that trouble you went to. And now I've got the money. And you're never going to see it again. Oh, Kim. I really wish I was there right now. Just so I could see the look on your face.
There's a race against time for the bill tonight at 8, and next this evening Judy Finnegan presents the Consumer magazine in which we can work it out.
Coronation Street is in half an hour after a revealing and intriguing episode of Emmerdale.
Hello, Kim.
Oh, she's probably sleeping in.
I don't think so.
Blasted helicopter. Shouldn't be allowed that sort of thing. I shall be writing to the airport, naturally.
He's already left for court.
Expecting the verdict today, aren't we?
That's right.
Well, by all accounts, things are looking pretty bleak for Kim and Steve.
Why did you hear that?
Well, just the general opinion in the village, so I gather.
Well, it's a good job that none of them are on the jury then, isn't it? Excuse me.
Right, what do you reckon? This one or this one?
Is it a wedding or a funeral?
It's the last day of the trial, you fool. Guilty or not guilty?
You reckon Kim's going to get off?
Well, I don't know. I just hope that Steve gets his comeuppance after what he did to Kathy. Hey, shouldn't you be at work?
Too cold to go out. I'll catch up on my paperwork.
Well, why don't you come to court? Show Kim you're willing.
I'd like to, Betty, love, but I can't.
I won't know where to put myself when it's all over. Charlie wants to go for a walk.
Terry'll take him when he wakens up.
Seth.
Oh.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Place wouldn't be the same without Kim.
Seth, get this dog walked now.
What do you think I'm doing? Another that one nicer. All right, Charlie, in a minute. Finishing my tea first.
I'm really glad that you came back this morning.
I couldn't leave it like that between us. The way I reacted was unforgivable.
Let's not mention it again.
Nothing like it will ever happen again, I swear.
You look terrible, if you don't mind me saying.
I haven't slept at all.
Where did you go?
I just walked, really. Trying to work out what made me behave like that.
I didn't mean to make you feel small.
It wasn't really you I was angry with.
No?
It brought back memories of my wife. I loved her very much, but we had a difficult time for a while.
Listen, if you don't want to talk about it...
It got out of control. She'd bicker with me in front of friends and pick silly rows.
I wasn't trying to pick a row.
Then I realised she was just insecure about my feelings for her.
Listen, if you want to slow things down, I'll understand.
Well, that's the last thing I want. It's made me realise how important you are to me. I meant what I said. I want us to live together.
The jury have reached a verdict.
What do you think it's gone?
It's hard to tell.
Well, surely Kathy's evidence must have done us some good.
We'll see.
Are you saying you think we've lost?
I'm saying that whatever happens, there's still hope. We have excellent grounds for an appeal.
That, Bertie.
It's as well to be prepared for the worst.
As long as Kim goes down with me, I think I can face anything.
Don't worry.
Are you sure you should be here, love?
No, but I couldn't stay away.
This is great, isn't it? That's someone selling popcorn would be better than the pictures.
Hi, where's Kim? Isn't she here? Well, she was supposed to come in with you. Well, she wasn't at the house. I thought she made her own way in. That must be it. We'll give her a few minutes before we start to worry, shall we?
Nobody home. Suits me. Come on, Charlie. We'll go and put his feet up. This way, Charlie.
No, it's not good enough. I've got people looking all
Where the hell is she?
It's only a few minutes. She'll be.
She would have phoned in.
What do you reckon's going on, Zoe?
I've no idea, Betty.
Well, where's Kim then? I thought she normally come in with you.
She decided to make her own way in today.
Looks as though she's got lost then, doesn't it?
If you ask me, she's done a bunk.
No one did ask you, Butch.
Oh, she don't want to face the music, does she?
Don't be ridiculous.
It would certainly explain why she hasn't turned up.
She's innocent. What possible reason would she have to run away?
All stand!
Right.
Your Honour, might I have a word?
All right.
Your Honour, I'm afraid Mrs. Marchant has yet to arrive in court.
Do we know why this is?
At the present moment, no, Your Honour.
Your Honour, given the stage of the trial, there's every likelihood that she's jumped bail.
Or she just might be stuck in traffic.
Your Honour, may I suggest that this might be an appropriate moment to issue an entry warrant to her house?
Mr. Derbyshire?
Is that not a little drastic, Your Honour?
Detective Inspector Spaulding, would you step forward, please?
She's gone. Don't believe it. The bitch has done a runner.
Come on, Jack. We need to get going.
Where?
We're going to the supermarket, remember?
Oh, can't it wait till tomorrow? I've got to get this finished.
No, there's practically nothing left in the house, and I need you to help carrying things.
Sarah, I'll come with you.
Oh, well, thanks, but...
Don't mind I'm doing now.
No, you go on, Ned. I can finish off here. I'm sure Sarah'll be glad of the company.
Yeah, excellent. I'll speak to you later.
Mr. Tate? Mr. Tate? Oh, come on, Charlie. If you can take a day off without telling us, we can... What you got there, Charlie? Come on, leave it. Leave it, boy. Oh, my God.
I'll take them out round the front.
Right, let's have it down. Good. Clear.
Right in.
What do you think they're talking about?
What to do about Kim not being here, I suppose.
We'll be putting out an APB, watching the ports and that. She won't get far.
Do you think she's really trying to make a run for it?
After your evidence, she's not going to sit around waiting to go to prison.
It can't be that easy, surely. She just decides to take off and gets away with everything.
She won't get past the Rosers at the airport.
Don't you worry, love. She may have done all the planning, but he's the one that hit you with the horse box, and he's not going anywhere.
Have you heard from Chris at all today?
No.
I've been trying to ring him and there's no reply.
So?
Well, I just thought he would be here for this.
To be honest, it's not Chris's absence I'm worried about.
You don't think he could have run off with Kim, do you? That would be a turn up for the books.
What makes you think she's run off?
Well, I don't see her here. I'm going to go and call on him.
Silence in court.
In view of the continued absence of the co-defendant, whilst inquiries are made as to her whereabouts, this court will adjourn until 2 o'clock.
All stand!
It's supporting the enemy, is this? I mean, how's the local small food producer going to survive if you're going to sell out and come to the supermarket, eh?
Ned, will you just open the boot for me?
You see, the big chains, they set the prices for folks like us, which means they either drive you out of business or...
It is, isn't it?
You have to sell with profit margins, vanish into nothing.
Ned Glover.
I'm sorry, love, do I know you?
Oh, yes. It's Dawn. Dawn Wilkins. Blimey, Ned, I never thought I'd see you again.
He's alive. I found him out here, the rain. He's been here for hours.
What the hell's happened to him?
He took a blow on head. Somebody left him for dead.
I'm his sister.
Okay, we can get him now.
Chris, it's me, Zoe. It's all right. Everything's going to be all right.
Stop. Kim do this to me.
I wasn't sure if it was you.
I don't believe it. Where you been hiding all this time, eh?
Oh, Fred's work took us down south for a bit, you know?
How long's it been? 25, 30 years? And Fred, how does the old beggar? I'd love to see him.
He died, Ned, about 6 months ago. It's one of the reasons I came home.
I'm sorry, love.
It's all right, you weren't to know. I've been coming on for a while. Is this your,
Oh, no, this is Sarah, the boss's wife.
Hello. Hello.
This is Dawn. Me and her husband go way back. Well, we did.
I was wondering if you fancied a cup of tea in the cafe, both of you.
Yeah, why not?
No, I have to get back. We can't leave it all to Jack.
Yeah, right. Sorry, Dawn, another time, eh?
Yeah.
Look, Dawn, it's been great to see you, and I'm sorry about your news.
You're looking well, Ned.
I'm working at Sugden's Foundry outside Emmerdale, you know, if you pass in.
OK.
So, I'll see you, Dawn.
We found her car at Home Farm, Your Honour, but there was no sign of Mrs. Marchant. We put out on all ports. She won't get out of the country now.
If she hasn't gone already.
Will you be looking for another adjournment, Mr. Derbyshire?
I'd be rather inclined to hear the verdicts on both defendants now, Your Honour.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Bring in the jury.
What the hell's going on? I'm afraid it appears she's jumped bail. I knew it. And why the hell was she granted bail in the first place? So what happens now? When we hear the verdicts in her absence. Oh, you've got to be kidding. Steve. Listen, she set the whole thing up and I'm sat here being stitched up while she gets away scot-free. She won't get far. She'll be in South America by now. She'll be spending my money while I rot in jail for her mistakes. Don't panic. This could all work in your favour. You've played straight all along while she's looking guilty as sin. The judge will take this all into account.
Would the foreman of the jury please stand? Have you reached a verdict on which you are all agreed for all charges against the defendants?
We have.
To the charge of theft, do you find the defendant, Kim Marchant, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
To the charge of attempting to obtain money by deception, do you find the defendant, Kim Marchant, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
To the charge of attempted murder, do you find the defendant, Stephen Marchant, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Mrs. Glover, there's a telephone call for you. It's urgent.
Rachel,
Oh, hi.
is it a bad time?
No, no.
So, what do you say? I'll move in all my stuff and we'll give it a go, eh?
Look, Graham, you're not just saying this to make up for our row, are you?
No.
It's just I don't want to rock the boat. I mean, your place is so close to mine. We practically live together already.
It's not enough for me anymore. I want us to live together all the time. Don't tell me you're getting cold feet.
No. I just don't want to push you into anything that you might regret.
Rachel, you're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. And no matter how hard you try, I'm not going to let you slip through my fingers. Unless you want to, of course.
Let's go for it. I'll help you move your stuff in.
She could have killed him. I think that might have been the idea. But why? I don't understand. He tried to tell you what she was like. You wouldn't listen to him. I had no idea.
She's been such a friend to me.
Well, she needed you.
God, I've been so stupid.
Why hasn't the doctor been out yet?
Kim used me from the word go. I supplied her alibi. I stood by when everyone else thought she was guilty.
Where is he? Can I see him?
Can't go in, the doctors are with him.
How bad is it?
We just don't know.
All stand.
Stand up, please, Mr. Marchant. As to the charges of theft and attempting to obtain money by deception, I have taken into account your guilty plea and your cooperation with the police, and I sentence you to 12 months for each charge. As to the more serious charge of attempted murder, I feel that I must make an example in such a case, and I'm sentencing you to 10 years. All sentences to run concurrently.
What? 10 years? You're mad. I didn't see her. I couldn't stop. There was nothing I could do.
Mr. Marchant, you are in contempt of court.
10 years? This isn't justice. Kim's the one to blame for this and she's getting away with it.
Take him down.
You've got the wrong person. Kim should be going to prison, not me. Get off. Find her. Find the bitch. Let me go. Let me find her.
Take him down.
Well, come on, Ned. You've got to put us out of our misery. Is she an old flame or what?
I might have set her out for a bit before my mate Fred nicked her from me.
Well, where'd you know him from, then?
He used to help out on his dad's farm when we were kids. Then I married Jan and, well, we all lost touch, you know how it is.
Well, she seemed very pleased to see you.
Oh, but at least you got a number.
Look, what is this? I ain't seen her for about 30 years.
Yeah, all right, Ned. Didn't mean anything by it.
Fred was a mate, and this all come as a bit of a shock. I'll go and finish them sheep pens off.
I feel responsible.
Oh, don't be stupid.
If I hadn't spoken up in court, Kim would never have felt the need to run.
So it's better if you keep your mouth shut and she just gets away with everything.
She has got away with everything.
There's plenty you could have done to stop it.
Oh, come on, Laura, this isn't doing any good.
No. All that matters is that Chris recovers.
It's nice to know you feel so strongly about someone you work with.
Hi.
Who is he?
He seems to have come through the critical period. He's suffering from bad concussion and blood loss. But he's conscious, and that's a good sign.
Well, can I see him?
I don't see why not. One at a time.
You should have let me take you straight to the hospital.
No, we'll go tomorrow. I don't want to get in Kathy's way. I feel bad enough about what she's been through already. I mean, she came and tried to apologise, but I wouldn't have it.
It's not too late, is it?
Oh, no, I don't suppose so.
To go and get things sorted. We can't afford to be careless with our friends.
Yeah, you're right. I would prefer it if we were talking again.
Good. That's settled then.
He stood there. You should have seen his face. And then...
White wine and a pint, please.
Oi, shh. And then, quick as a flash, Steve clobbered the security guard and made a dash for the door. And if I hadn't have put my foot out to trip him up...
Betty, you're forgetting, love, some of us were there.
Yeah, well, I would have done if it had been nearer.
10 years, though. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
After what he did to Kathy, he's lucky he weren't strung up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to imply this.
So what do you think happened to Chris?
I found him up at home farm. A blow head, inches from death.
Oh, Seth saved his life. He had to give him mouth to mouth.
Shut up, woman. She don't know what she's talking about.
Where do they think Kim's got to now?
Well, according to the constable who was filling me in like, she caught her helicopter to Acapulco.
An helicopter? An helicopter won't get all the way to Acapulco, would it, Dad?
Well, it depends, son. Depends.
What on?
The wind.
She must have had it planned all along in case things went wrong.
Ah, you've got to hand it to her.
Must have cost a packet.
Yeah, I know it, Kim, though. It won't be her money.
I dread to think what'll happen when the law catches up with her.
The law? Must be joking. It's never been a match for Kim Chait. She's the last of that woman round here. Good luck to her, that's what I say. What? What have I said?
Chris, I'm so sorry.
Don't be.
I had no idea.
Where is she? They got her?
No, not yet. There's no trace of her or James.
She's one, Zoe. She's destroyed me. And now she's going to get away.
Chris.
How can I carry on knowing she's got everything? Wish to God she had killed me. I really do.
It's all my fault. He warned me about Kim and I wouldn't listen. What have I done, Laura? What have I done?
Will the Duckworths end up homeless as well as jobless? Stay with us and find out in Coronation Street.